Okay, everybody, we're going to rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome, everybody. Kathy, if you can do a roll call, please.
King is absent. Hugh.
Present.
McDonald.
Here.
Maloney.
Here.
Birdbauer. Here. Dustin.
Here.
Bartleson.
Here.
Cardamone.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Right on. Police Chaplain Ernest Jones is here to open us up.
Please pray with me. Mighty Father, first we just want to say thank you. Thank you for all of your grace and all of your mercy. Thank you for your divine protection over our city, Father God. And we ask you to lead and guide this council tonight, Father God. Your word says, in all thy way acknowledge you and you will direct our path. So we ask you to direct right now. Give wisdom and understanding. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ernest. Appreciate it. All right, friends, we got any liaison reports going on? I think you know what, on the slide, the first slide is
We had some
of our
events,
serious things. So
yeah.
actually, I'm going to take this because Susan's out. So the Mission 1895 started on Sunday. It's actually really fun. It's the collector cards around all the 40 businesses in town, and you got a map. There's an online map if you go to Mission 1895, which is really fun to look at. And then there's secret clues. It's a very fun thing, and it's not something you really can do in one shot. So for visitors, you know, they have to come back a couple times to really do it all. I saw kids walking around today with their parents collecting cards. So yeah, it's off to a good start, and it should be a lot of fun. So that is in full swing now. So Mission 1895. And what else we got?
The reminder for Oak Canal Days is this weekend, and like I said, I know Susan King is in here, so I'll cover a couple of things. Starts on Thursday this year, yeah, which is, and they're, from what I understand, the beer tent is open on Thursday. That's kind of newer, I think, and goes through Sunday and culminates with fireworks. So I think a lot of us will be out there.
Yeah.
Working
It's
on
funny
it.
how that crept to Thursday. It used to be like, look, all the food trucks are here, you might as well let them open up. And it's like, the beer, why don't we just serve beer? It's like, yeah, pretty soon it's going to be Wednesday, too.
Yeah. Sure, it's about revenue.
Yeah.
So, Canal Week.
Yeah,
Canal Week, we'll all be out there. So. And then Springs, Joanne.
Okay, I'm not, yes. Just wanted to remind everyone that our spring, summer property recognition contest is in full swing. We have already quite a few entries, so looking forward to, it's going to be, everyone's going to be recognized in August with one of our, I believe, first meeting in August. So it's ran from April 21st to July 14th is the deadline. So get your homes in and send us your beautiful pictures of your landscaping and your flower gardens. Either nominate yourself for your home or your neighbors.
Are dandelions a,
Yes, it's an exotic flower.
okay, that's what I was wondering, if there was a category for that type of flower.
That's a native.
My neighbors
Yeah,
won that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope people will catch on and start using native, plants and things like that.
We're getting
Be
there.
interested in seeing how that would work out, so, yeah. Very good, thank you.
Okay, I'm up. Two things, is June 21st, we're having another pop-up garden, which basically means go to the garden, and we're having a presentation there. It's from Nancy, can somebody help me with that last name? Kuhaja?
Nice try.
Kuhaja. And she's the horticultural teacher. She's very lively, she's fun to listen to. She's got lots of great, interesting facts about bugs and insects, and are they friends or foes of your garden? So that starts at 10. bring some chairs or blankets to sit, and it'll go for an hour, and then we'll just hang out until 12. And then the next one is June 24th, and that's going to be at the library. And we're going to talk about composting, weeding, and rain barrels. And it's being presented by Beth Pluce from the Conservation Foundation and Karen Tim, who is from Berry Landscaping and Design.
Right on. Thank you for all that, Christina.
Yeah.
I've got a couple things. Over the past couple of weeks, we had 2 state champions in track. We had Nolan Lamoureux, he was the 800-meter winner. I don't recall, maybe one other individual, two. John Mayer was a shot putter for, 3 or 4 state champions, and then there was a sprinter, maybe, 30 years ago that won 100 meters. And then we had McKenna Migliorini, she won the pole vault, and I'm absolutely sure that she was the first girl to ever come in first in any event in state track, which is pretty cool. And I don't know if we recognize Claudia Heaney after she won her 2nd consecutive state championship in wrestling a couple of months ago. So I got in touch with the track coaches. I haven't got in touch with the wrestling coach, and hopefully we can have these kids here at the next meeting. Switching gears, and it's kind of related to Memorial Day. Out in our cemetery, we have a stone of a Medal of Honor winner, a guy by the name of George Theodore Hyatt. And back in 1999, he was disinterred, and his body and his wife's body were taken over to Abraham Lincoln Cemetery, and he was the first person to be buried at Abraham Lincoln. And so we have a stone out there. It's called a cenotaph. And so I always wondered, well, why in the world is a Medal of Honor winner buried here? About 3 or 4 months ago, cleaning out the garage there, I go ahead and I find his original tombstone is in our garage, and it's been in there since, upon research, since 1998. And I thought, well, after our ceremony the other week, I thought, well, it'd be great if we maybe put the stone down in front of City Hall here. So then I started doing some more research, and then I kind of changed my mind. I can't really find too much association with Theodore Hyatt here in Lockport. He did live here in 1894 when he received the Medal of Honor. I don't know if he was here in 1890 because those census records were destroyed in a fire. But he didn't live here in 1880. He lived in Braceville, Illinois, and then along the Mississippi River in 1870. But so I thought, well, where is he from? Did some research. He was actually from Gardner, Illinois, and his family moved there in 1846 when he was 16. He was a teacher. Was teaching down in Missouri at the onset of the war. He came back to Gardner and then joined 127th Illinois Company D, which was a regiment from that area. So I contacted the commanding officer of the Gardner American Legion and says, hey, I think I have something that belongs down in Gardner. It doesn't belong here. And on June 21st, I'm going to be taking that stone down there. They're actually having a regional American Legion breakfast down there. And so I'm going to be taking that stone down to where it belongs. And in Gardner, they have a little area just for veterans. And so it's far more appropriate that this stone, which was in our cemetery for 99 years, go to where it belongs. Okay? And then in 2 weeks, I'll have another cemetery story related to Juneteenth.
All right.
That is amazing.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Darren, appreciate it. All right, friends, anything else? All right. I have something for the mayor's report. So if you guys remember Zach, he was part of the flag committee. He led that up, and him and that group of youngsters came up with a great symbol to represent City of Lockport. It was really fun. Another thing Zach did is his Eagle Scout project is he, as you guys recall, raised funds to help build the bike rest area just outside of the Heritage Village. It's really, I mean, I've seen a lot of different Eagle Scout projects over the years, and this reminds me of the old school Eagle projects that I used to see when I was a kid, where you had to, build a school in Zimbabwe to get your Eagle Scout, right? And this is, I mean, he really, it's spectacular. It took a lot of paperwork he had to fill out. He had to raise funds for it. It was really extensive, and so Zach's done a great job. I think in a few weeks we'll have a ribbon cutting down there. Part of the flagpole, we'll put the flag up that him and his committee created as well. That'll be fun to get that up there. And I also want to thank Public Works. Public Works guys really, you put their shoulder to the wheel on this, did a lot of help getting that taken care of as well. So thanks to the fellows out there for that too, Brian. Oh, yeah, there they are, working away. No, it's really nice. It's one of those things where they got the bike pump and the tools and all that stuff. If you're riding your bike through there, it's right on the path, so it worked out really well. It was well done.
And that was all covered by fundraising?
No, part of it was. So Zach raised money for the flagpole for the plantings, and so that was his part in it. But it wouldn't have happened, I think, without his diligence and getting the whole thing together. So really appreciate his leadership on the whole project.
I think that's a good stopping point on the canal. When you come off of the gravel, you hit that bathroom and...
You're right, you're absolutely right. That's the first pause you get after that long gravel stretch from 135th Street, so, yep. All right.
Thank you.
All right, friends, if there's nothing else, then we'll jump into our consent agenda. So tonight I'm looking for a motion to have a consent agenda.
Motion.
Second. Pat and Joanne, all in favor of that? Aye. Okay. All right, so tonight we're looking for approval for our regular city council meeting minutes from May 21st, our committee of the whole meeting minutes from May 21st, our bills through May 28th, our payroll period ending May 25th, and a lease agreement for the temporary use of Lockport Township Community Room for our city meetings once we're under construction here. So looking for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Steve and Jonathan. And may I have a roll call, please?
You got it. King is absent. Hugh.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Lillooly.
Yes.
Birdbauer.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Artisan.
Yes.
Carnevale.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, we have one action item on here, so we're looking for approval for Resolution 25048, which is approving the contract with Brock Industrial Services for asbestos removal from City Hall.
Yes, Mayor, so this is a resolution
If you
25048.
want to let
Make a motion.
all right, JR? Anybody wants, seconded by Pat? Thank you, appreciate it.
Now you can talk.
JR and
My
Pat.
braces. Yes, this would be approving Resolution 25048. It is an addendum from, if you remember, the HVAC program that we had funded earlier this year. It did not include the asbestos removal. We had to get some estimates for that. We had sealed bids opened last week, and we're looking not to exceed amount of $45,000. The bid came in at about 30, but we're a little nervous about when you start opening walls and asbestos, we may need a little more. So just to be on the safe side, we'd like to go ahead and get that started. Actually, it's going to start on June 18th, in July, so that we have it done before the HVAC program starts in August. So, but it's mostly in the gym and downstairs, so
Okay.
keep everybody out of there.
Any questions, thoughts, concerns?
Should be good.
All right, we'll do a roll call, please.
Got it. King is absent. Hugh.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Lillooly.
Yes.
Birdbauer.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Artisan.
Yes.
Carnevale.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, anybody got any new business? We good? Any open floor comments? All right, then we'll look for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
I got Joanne and Jonathan. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. At your leisure, Kathy. Please do roll call for committee of the whole.
Okay, I'm ready. King is absent.
Present.
McDonald.
Here.
Logan.
Here.
Birdbauer.
Here.
Guskin.
Here.
Carlson.
Here?
Cardamone.
Here.
We have one.
All right, first up is, as Chief Orang is looking at greener pastures down south in Tennessee.
Oh,
right?
wow.
It's, it's our job to put a new police chief and put John Arizzi down as a successor. So looking for a motion to put that on a agenda item for next week or next meeting.
So moved.
All right, Jonathan?
Second.
Yeah, all right. Actually, we don't need to do any of that, but it's exciting. Yeah, it's committee of the whole. I know, it was just, Jonathan was feeling saucy, so he just.
Rich will be with us until July 11th, and then if the successor is accepted, he would start on July 11th, so.
Yeah, Rich is going to go down and become one of the Dukes of Hazzard
He
down
is,
there.
man, he's got, yeah,
He's got the orange Charger warmed up and ready to go.
riding around with his
Nobody's
cats.
bought the still yet.
Well, Rich, you'll be definitely missed.
Oh, yeah, you will be missed. You've done a great job.
Yeah.
You know, since Terry left, it was a lot of big shoes to fill, and you did a magnificent job. We thank you so much for that, and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bravo. This will be your next meeting.
So, will Arizzi be here?
Yeah, we can do it on, well, why don't we do it on an action item so we
Yeah.
can, you know, make a fuss.
Yeah, we'll have John
He'll be
here.
present, right? Okay. Be nice to formally.
It's, all right. Next is, FM1 is presentation of the audited financial statements. All right, Lisa, time to shine.
Thank you, Mayor. I have Dave Jelonic from GW and Associates here to present the 2024 audited financial statements.
All right, good evening. I'm probably going to sound like a broken record from last year. Staff is great to deal with, no issues, and financial results are good. Have a good night.
Just record it.
No, we performed the audit for December 31st, 2024. We were out here, I think it was end of March, early April this year, and issued the financial statements May 21st, I believe, was when we have the opinion stated there. We issued, along with the annual comprehensive financial report, we also issued a TIF compliance report, which we had no issues. We also issued a single audit report. We had, the city had spent over $750,000 in federal funds. Most of that was due to the use of the ARPA funding that had been received a couple of years ago, but was put into use during fiscal year 2024. The single audit is where we also would have any findings to report. Glad to say there are no findings. So our review of the controls, the over the federal spending, as well as controls over the financial reporting, we felt, based on our testing, are strong here at the city, and we had no issues to report there. And then the other document is a SAS 114 auditor communication, which is a communication from us to the board that accompanied the documents that were presented. That's just a very high-level discussion about the audit process, and then just that we had no issues during the audit dealing with Lisa and Maggie and their team. So, well, with that said, the audit, the annual comprehensive financial report, it's going to be very similarly laid out to previous years, where we have a transmittal letter that Lisa puts together that's in there that has some facts and information regarding the city. And then after that, we have management's discussion and analysis, which again is something Lisa puts together based on the financial results from the audited financial statements. And then after that, we get into our audit opinion, which would be page 1 in the financial section. We issued a unmodified opinion, a clean opinion, meaning that we feel, based on our audit procedures, that the balances presented represent fairly the financial statement position of the city as of 12/31/24. On pages 4 and 5, that's where we have the government-wide statements. That's where, in the governmental activities column, all the general fund, TIF, bond and interest, capital projects, motor fuel tax, those are all rolled up into one column. And then items that are long-term in nature, like capital assets, show up in this statement, as well as any long-term debt, participation in IMRF, net pension liability for IMRF and the police pension. But on page 5, if you look at the bottom, total net position at the end of the year for governmental activities, it was 153.7 million, so very strong. A lot of that is capital assets, which have been accumulated over time, a lot of development and road and other infrastructure projects. And then the business type activities, your water, sewer, garbage, that's coming in at 104.2 million. So again, very strong numbers there, and a lot of it, again, as we said, locked up in capital assets. The next page is a statement of activities, which is an income statement of the government as a whole. So the change in net position toward the bottom of page 6 was about 5.8 million was added to net position equity at the end of the year for governmental activities, and then 10.4 million added for business type activities. Page 7 is where we get into the fund level statements. Again, those are split between governmental funds and proprietary funds. So the governmental funds, those funds that roll up into the governmental activities. The general fund, if you look at the bottom of the page, fund balances 15.7 million in equity at year end, assets exceeding liabilities by that amount. Capital projects, 7.9 million in fund balance there. And then the non-major governmental funds, that's your MFT, TIF, and bond and interest fund. That's all three of those are rolled up together, and that's 5.7 million fund balance in those funds as well. Page 8, because the fund level statements are looking at a current financial resource focus, so you don't have the long-term items like capital assets or long-term debt. Those are expenditures in these statements. So a expenditure for a truck, for example, would show up as an expense to the general fund or to the capital projects, but then becomes an asset in those front statements I discussed, the government-wide. And this page 8 is basically a crossover of how we get from the fund level to the government-wide level, from fund balance to net position, and the different components that reconcile between the two. Page 9 is then the income statement for the governmental funds. So you can see that the general fund added 1.3 million during the year. Capital projects did have a slight loss of 1.7 million, but again, that fund is designed to be a spending fund rather than an income generating fund, but still a robust fund balance at year end. And then the non-major funds did have an increase of about 1.2 million there as well. And then just like the balance sheet, the income statement also has a crossover between the change in fund balance for the governmental funds to the change in net position for the government-wide. And that's on page 10. Page 11 then is just the proprietary funds, statement of net position, a balance sheet. Again, those numbers are going to be very similar for water operations to what's reported for the business type activities on pages 4 and 5. The internal service fund, that's related to compensated absences, balances accrued for sick and vacation time. And then page 13 is the income statement. Again, same number there, 10.4 million added to equity at the end of the year. And then there's a statement of cash flow, just basically on a cash basis. Any gain or loss in net change in cash. So that really just shows you the impact of capital spending in those funds. But then after that, we have the pension trust fund for the police pension, and there's 38.7 million in equity there at the end of the year set aside for the police pension. After that, I won't go into too much detail in the footnotes, but their footnotes come after the statements, and they provide additional information, cash balances, capital assets, long-term debt, and the pension plans that the city is involved with. After that, then come required supplementary information, that's additional schedules related to pensions and also budget to actual schedules. I'd like to point out to boards, when I talk to them, especially when I can say that it happened, that each fund spent within budget last year, the budget passed by the board. So the spending that took place was within the budget that was set forth at the beginning of the fiscal year. So wanted to point that out as well. But as I said, Lisa, Maggie, and the rest of the finance team make our job easy as auditors as far as their preparation, their attention to detail, promptness in responding to any questions or inquiries we have, whether we're out here or, from our office. I can't say that about every other place we audit. A big thank you to you, Lisa, and please tell Maggie that as well, because it makes a big difference. I think it's a reflection of the city when the finance department is run smoothly, run efficiently, and the audit runs smoothly and efficiently. Because I think sometimes, some places, the audit is just something that has to be done. Here, I feel Lisa and Maggie really take the time to prepare for the audit, so then we're able to turn this report around. I mean, when you think about it, this is, I believe, 140 plus pages when you add up all the inserts and stuff, and Lisa is very involved in that process, and again, we turn it around in less than 2 months, which is pretty impressive when you consider how much information is here. But again, that wouldn't be possible without her help and Maggie's help, so
Right on.
thank you for that. And that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Lisa, Maggie, the whole crew. Appreciate it, as
I
always.
have a question for Lisa. It's probably the same question I ask her every year about this time. So when it comes to the funds, to the two pensions, I can remember going back many, many years ago, we have to reach X number of funding, X percent of funding by, 2032 or 33? So where are we in the funding for both of the pensions?
The exact details are in here, but the IMRF is almost at 100%. That one is, they require the municipalities to be up really high. So if it dips down, it's because the investments that IMRF had didn't return what they were expecting it to return. So that one's really high. The police pension, we have increased year over year, and I think we're close to 80% funding, maybe 78, 79. I can look it up here and give you a solid answer, but
The legend,
it's doing fabulously.
And we were like 60%, just a dozen years ago. so
68, 69, yeah, we're in the 80s.
Doing pretty good.
The legislation gave us like another 10 years too. We don't have to make it now until like 2040 or something, but we'll be ahead of the game.
Yeah, we're doing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the department heads for staying within budget. I know that's sometimes hard to do when people, I need this, and Lisa and your crew, ride your shepherd over that to make sure they stay within the bounds. This is a lot for how the city of Lockport takes the monies given to them and spends them wisely. So, nice job.
Yep. A lot of credits and debits, pension liabilities, post-employment liabilities. I know I like to spend capital and operations, but she keeps us on tap, so good job, thank you.
Very good. Thank you again. Nothing you need from us, just
No.
informational, so
No,
thank
just
you.
information. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're still on to tell us about the 2026 budget calendar.
I know, can you believe this? They're all starting to blend. I finish audit and already starting to talk about budget. It's crazy. It didn't used to be like this, used to have a little break in between. So, budget will be distributed to all the department heads by August 6th, and I'll be looking for them to return information back, to us on September 5th, which then allows us in September and October to meet with department heads, flush out any changes they wanted to see with the budget, and then to meet with each of you 2 by 2, like we've had every year. So we'll present to the public November 5th, and then have a public hearing on November 19th, and presentation of the tax levy at that same time, and then we'll be looking for budget to be passed along with the tax levy at the December 3rd meeting, if all goes well. So again, information only, just like to let everybody know in advance what the timeline is, and keep us all on track to move forward.
Right on. Thanks again. All right, next on is Lance, special use permit for,
One more?
Nope, there's one in between there.
did I miss it? Oh, sorry. It's because I've drawn too much on my agenda. So, yeah, looking for approval for task order with V3. So, Ben, what do you got?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is to approve a task order in regards to environmental cleanup and some remediation at 1728 State Street. It's also known as the Tassoni Properties. It's the one parcel left pretty much on the east side in the corner of 18th Street. I should have included a survey, but I think, I know Darren knows where it's at, so. But, you know, this has been going on for a while with the family, and they lost their father, and the children were left, and we really embarked on this where we just wanted to demo the building to help out the curb appeal. But when we realized, you know, with the Phase 1 and Phase 2 is that there's some underground tanks in there, and those are expensive things to remove. You know, the family had approached the city maybe a couple years ago to take the parcel because no one was going to buy it. And we weren't ready at that time to take it. Once we've engaged some additional review with V3 Environmental. We also had a couple of good calls with the state of Illinois and are going to be able to participate in the leaking underground storage tank program. It's the EPA LUS program that will help us fund a majority of this, at least of the cleanup part. This parcel in particular has a few other challenges in there with the demolition of the building. The state won't cover that. We're going to need to kind of shore up a retaining wall to protect the parcel integrity and the home above it. And eventually, we'll probably end up with a parking lot there. I'm not sure it's really a marketable lot necessarily for commercial, but we'll see what kind of interest are once we get it cleaned up. So in general, we've got a proposal for $243,000. We're recommending bringing this up just a little bit for some additional contingency. And it's in the TIF, so we're able to use the TIF funds to help balance this out for whatever the state doesn't cover. I had a couple good conversations with Alderman Pugh about this yesterday, and but at the end of the day, I think the TIF fund has about $700,000 in its balance right now, and if we use about $165 and get reimbursed $200 from the state, we should be able to get this project done in a number not to exceed $365,000. I do have some representatives from V3 here and the environmental, if there's any questions for things that are beyond my scope in environmental. But we've been working on trying to bring this parcel back to usefulness for a long time, so.
Okay. You guys have a pretty good handle, you think, on, I mean, there's always surprises when you open the ground, but you guys feel like there's a pretty good handle on what to expect at this point? If you want to come up to the microphone.
Yeah, Ryan or Jonathan, come on up. One of the good things, too, that we were all on a call together, and I have to thank Senator Ventura because she really helped us get the EPA engaged and the State Fire Marshal's Office, kind of not put words in their mouth, but basically that we could use almost $1 million if we had to for the program. We don't think we're going to need that much. We think it's going to be closer to $300,000, but it was nice to see their engagement and their commitment to, if you continue to dig and find problems, they're going to still be there with us to help remediate. They'll only cover things that they cover, but if we expose additional issues there, that they'll be there to help us fund it as well. So,
Okay.
But anyway, more technical, anything, Ryan?
Good evening, everyone. Ryan Hartley with V3. To answer your question, Mayor, yes, we feel that
there's been enough holes poked there. There's been, a couple of investigations over the years there. Most recently, we've done one with Ben. The real risk here is, it's a small site, right? The real risk is going to be if contamination has spread beyond the property, but we don't believe that that's the case from what we're seeing with the amount of data that we've gotten so far. And there are, if that does happen, there's also contingencies with that for reimbursement with the state as well. Our goal would be to have this all cleaned up in what's called early action. So all one foul swoop, we're going to tell the agency, we've got, here's our plan, we're going to go remove the tanks. They reimburse you for X amount of soil associated with those tanks, take confirmation samples. If we don't have any groundwater, that'd be the perfect scenario, which we had removed some tanks just down the street from this site not too long ago, and we ended up with no groundwater, which was a good thing in our business, especially with tanks, because then you don't have to do any further investigation if you don't have groundwater. So we believe there should be a similar situation here with this site. So we get in there, we get everything cleaned up, no groundwater, fire marshal comes, blesses it, and we close everything out, turn in the paperwork for reimbursement, and the state will reimburse for certain things, a good percentage of what we're estimating right now.
Sure, very good.
And I should clarify too, we are going to use the TIF funds to front it, and then, the state could take us a year or more to pay us back, but it should be.
Understood. And, it is one of those state programs that has actually been helpful. I know, I'm thankful to staff for utilizing it. A lot of people don't take advantage of it, and it's there, so it's a good job.
Couple of questions.
Yeah.
When were those tanks put in the ground? Do we know?
Monitoring.
Their regulatory listing right now is that they're orphan tanks. There's no record of when they were first installed. Their last known use or recorded use was 1975, so it's right after the threshold of the LUS program and what tanks are reimbursable under the program. And the status of those tanks, we did bring up with the state LUS program when we were on the call, and they confirmed that they would qualify for reimbursement.
Were those tanks made out of steel?
Mesh. Probably mesh now, yeah. More than likely originally steel tanks that have, rusted and leaked.
When they abandoned those tanks, did they fill them with anything like sand or anything, or they just leave them vacant?
There's no record of an official abandonment of them, so we don't know.
They just walked away. Yeah. In the investigation, there was what we think is some old gas tanks. There's probably some old dirty motor oil tanks. There's even some hydraulics inside the building, so all those things would be part of the remediation.
Interesting.
And then we haven't taken control of the property yet. We've held off. Mike has it in court for kind of a deed in lieu of foreclosure kind of thing, or whatever the legal terminology is. But and to have this program, we're going to need to own the parcel. So we didn't start anything yet because we have to complete that. But
were the fill ports accessible during the investigations, like for the existing tanks?
There are a couple of ports on the surface, but we don't know exactly what they go to and what they're connected to. We did a GPR survey, a ground penetrating radar survey, and electromagnetic survey that confirmed that there's likely tanks there.
Yeah. But you guys didn't get like a interface probe down?
No, there's no, we didn't dipstick anything.
How interesting.
There's been some good gas in there, cheaper.
We would try to do that if we could, but it's.
I didn't recall seeing it, so I figured I'd ask.
That's all I had for the underground tanks. The other question, I don't know if you guys are involved with that, is that retaining wall
yeah,
that you said was running south to north?
it runs north-south on the eastern border of the parcel. It's kind of holding up the dirt that kind of holds up the house above it. I kind of did another investigation with another firm in regards to just doing the demo, and we realized the back walls of that building are actually holding up a lot of that soil. So we had a separate design done. We were going to go out to bid for it to shore up that wall so that we could just demo the building and, make it look better. But with the opportunity of getting the state grant dollars, we just thought it was better just to package it all into one thing.
There's a picture of, looks like a plat or something.
Probably.
The land title survey. Looks like the property line runs to the west of what appears to be concrete. So is that concrete wall on the uphill neighbor, or is that actually on the property on State Street?
I believe it's on the property on the State Street. If you're talking about the one further north, on the north border, it's about a 4 foot wall. Or are you talking about the one behind it?
The one behind it.
Yeah. So that's on the parcel. It's not, it doesn't belong to the home above it.
Okay. Yeah, I suspect they got to be a little nervous. You start messing with that wall. And
Yeah, that's why we had
house
to
does a slide.
get the
Change of
engineers
address on the
involved.
house.
Yeah, that's right, State Street address now. All right. Well, we can put something in here that if they find any gas in the tank, aldermen get dibs. If you want.
First,
Yeah.
new land.
All right. Any other questions on this one? Are you guys okay with the consent on this?
When are you guys looking to get started?
As soon as we get the deed,
Okay.
so this summer, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I don't have anything on this one, but do you have a update? I forgot what year it is, that when you detected how many tanks that are in the ground, 9 or something. Where is the status of the other ones? They said they took care of 2 earlier.
Oh, you mean like citywide?
Yeah, we did a test on that whole area, did quite a few of them. Where are we on the other
Yeah,
remaining
so
ones?
the ones across the street on the west side, the developer, Bob Gomalski, that's proposing some residential, has taken care of a few of them. The ones he was speaking about were the ones that we took care of at Delwood as part of the parking lot with our public use. We knocked down that little hamburger stand or whatever it was, and we found a tank under there. I mean, finding tanks in our downtown hasn't been, especially ones that aren't really marked, has not been or I should say, it's been a common thing. We ran into one behind the public landing. We ran into one in front of Lock and Mule. So we've had a history of, doing the right thing and taking care of them. Some of them are, a little more expensive and complicated for just a small business owner to handle, so we've been involved. But citywide, there are some other ones out there, but we're not working on any more than this one right now.
Do you know how many more are out there? Do you recall?
14.
Oh, there's still 14.
Citywide, do you remember?
Thanks.
Yeah, 10-ish.
Yeah, 10-ish.
All right, so we good with consent on this one then? Okay. Thanks, fellas, appreciate it. Okay, Lance, you're up.
All right, so this is related to ordinance 25005. This is for a very long description, but I'll try and do it as quickly as possible. A special use permit for a planned residential development, rezoning from C2 community commercial to R2 single-family residential, preliminary and final development plans in one step, a final plat of subdivision for the property generally located north of Division Street and east of Cedar Road that you see on your screen. This is being called Flagstone Villas. The subject property is Zone C2 and was part of the overall 202-acre Victoria Crossings development. So as a kind of context, unfortunately, I don't have an aerial of this, but all of the Victoria Crossing homes east of Cedar and west of Cedar were a part of the original development plan. So one of the questions that had come up early on is about open space and the request to reduce the open space number in the development. Well, the overall project had all the open space that would need to be accommodated. So if you think about the pond directly south of Victoria Crossings that was dedicated to the Park District, those are all part of the overall open space project for the Victoria Crossings development, and that includes this particular property. They had 2 parcels located. The one in the red outline is the subject property for tonight. The other C2 parcel that was a part of the Victoria Crossings development, which is all highlighted in color on your screen, is the one on the north west corner of Cedar and Division. Cedar is the north-south main road that you see there. Division is the east-west road that's on the bottom of that image. This is a picture of what it looks like today. Probably the most important thing from a design standpoint to notice is there's a retaining wall on that far left side of the image, along with a rickety fence that is on top of it. It was originally developed way back when Victoria Crossings originally went in, because they had plans for a memory care facility there that never ended up locating in this area. That retaining wall was built as a part of that, just the overall 202 acre to kind of prep for that. This development is removing and reducing that retaining wall on that side because they're changing the topography in the site to better allocate it and not to have that in the future. So we don't have that particular issue. In 2022, Chris Cazzo of Yukon Development, who's with us tonight, he had come forth with a concept plan for Flagstone Village, which at the time was 27 units, and it was approved by Resolution 22060. He has since advanced into preliminary and final development plans and actually reduced the number of units from 27 now to 23. All 2 home units except for 1 3-home unit. On your screen, you'll see the plat of subdivision. That shows you the 23 units that are on the property, along with the Flagstone Drive that kind of comes up the middle. Probably a typically easier plan to look at is this one. This is the development plan, shows the Flagstone Drive. It's basically a cul-de-sac for the most part with a larger, what we'll call bulb at the end of the street, currently that has some guest parking in it. One of the issues, as we've talked about in the past, that we run into with our non-overnight parking allowances is that townhome owners, because of the quantity of driveways that front their properties, there are very few on-street parking spaces. And so this offers the opportunity to have guest parking. It also offers the opportunity, if they maintain it privately themselves, to have a couple overnight spots that wouldn't be on-street parking. And you'll see the 4 that are kind of halfway down in between Flagstone and Drive, and then the other ones on the, what would be the north end plan right, showing the parking that's in the center of the circle there. The overall development size is 4.4 acres. Flagstone Drive will be dedicated, but you probably saw in there that is a reduced right-of-way that we are looking for approval on with this plan. And there is a sidewalk on one side of the street. This is consistent with a lot of the townhome developments that we've had in town. Lago Vista has one-sided sidewalks throughout their development, as well as a number of other ones. So it's not something that is new for us. Also on your screen, you'll have the landscape plan. Probably the thing to call out specifically about this portion of it is the amount of landscape that is adjacent to Cedar Road, which on your screen is the top piece. So west is actually on the upper portion of your screen, north is on the right side of it. But that shows the general townhome layout. These are not exact footprints for the townhomes. They simply suggest a box that represents that area. But there's a significant amount of landscape that meets all of our codes and ordinances up against Cedar, as well as the street trees that run through there. Here you have individual building level lot plans, so we require that as a part of the development plan, the developer propose a standard prototypical landscape plan for each unit. It's consistent with what you saw at Clover Ridge, or what you see at Clover Ridge, the new townhomes that were built by Coombs Corner there. So this is proposed for each of the units. There is also a 3-unit plan as well, but it's fundamentally consistent with this one. And I think one more. See if it catches up. This must be a big, large image. Oh, it is.
We're doing this old school, Chris, look at that.
Yeah, we're gonna go old school on it. Yeah, right. So the front elevation for the 2-unit is on the right, And the rear elevation for the two-unit is on the left. The three-unit single building will be relatively consistent with that. So those are the architectural elevations. This plan was heard at our May 13th Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. We provided the presentation, and Chris provided some commentary as well, and answered some questions. Plan and Zoning Commission ultimately voted 7-0 to adopt and approve staff's findings of fact for the project for the special use permit, and recommended approval to you all for the proposed rezoning, the special use permit, the final subdivision plat, and the preliminary and final development plans. With that, our request is that this be placed on the June 18th City Council meeting for consent or action. And I'd be happy to take any questions, and Chris would do the same.
Question. It talks about back of curb to sidewalk 4 feet. From the sidewalk to the garage, what's that typical distance? Is it
25.
25 feet? Okay. Yeah, because I see a lot of areas where there's people use their garage as a storage shed and they end up putting 5 cars on the driveway. I was glad to see that there was off parking associated with that, because some of the other subdivisions that, because the turning radius to the fire department, you can't park here, and like you mentioned, the townhomes, the driveways are so close, you only get 1 car between them, so that was good forethought on your part, so. The other thing I had is maximum impervious surface area, 45% to 73. Does that mean that most of that property is going to be impervious to water? It's going to run somewhere?
Well, it's all part of the overall Victoria Crossing stormwater system. And so this was originally planned, all the ponds that are in Victoria Crossings, primarily for this property, the one that's directly south of it, the main pond where you see a lot of fishing and things like that going on. This property was planned to drain into that particular development, or that particular pond.
And that change in impervious surface doesn't affect that pond's capability or capacity or capability of managing.
And then there's going to be sidewalk on one side only of the complex?
I see it loops around the cul-de-sac, but not all the way through, is what I saw.
That's just a question that I had. It is just one of my questions I have in life, is the one-sided sidewalk. The sidewalk to nowhere. Is there a reason they don't just loop it around?
So the width of this property, when you think about the 30-foot landscape buffer that we require on Cedar Road, the 25-foot rear yard setback that we require, the size of the unit, the 25-foot front yard setback that we require, the 5-foot sidewalk that we require, the minimum 5-foot parkway that we require, the 28-foot wide street that we require, the 25-foot, as you start to stack those dimensions up, that's where it gets scrunched, and we didn't have the extra 4 feet with all of those. Now, if we want to, if the council would be opening to reducing the driveway length to 18 feet or 20 feet or something like that, you could certainly accommodate it, or reducing the rear yards. It's our opinion that, given that it's a relatively private, almost non-motorized court for the most part for just 23 units, that having it on one side wasn't a deterrent to somebody if they wanted to walk on the street or somewhere in those areas, that would be an issue. And so as opposed to reducing the amount of space for cars to park in the driveway or bringing people's back patios closer to the back property line, or reducing the amount of landscape up against Cedar to help diminish some of the noise there, we felt that was one of the pieces that we could give up.
There's always sound reasoning, with this kind of stuff, and I totally understand it.
Yep.
I just, these sidewalks that end make me insane. I just think it's safer in general to have, a loop. Again, if you have a kid on a skateboard, whatever, so they don't have to jump on the street. And I know it's private, but, everyone's so distracted.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
So if I'm looking at the driveways from the face of the building to the street on the east side, and from the building to the top of the sidewalk are the same. It's just, so there's a little more land on the west side, and that's why we could fit the sidewalk over there, is that?
So the depth of the driveways, let's just take units 7 and 8 as an example. So the driveway length of units 7 and 8 between the garage face, which would be that lower, heavier line, to the sidewalk, which is the two narrow lines, is the same length as what you see on the east side.
Okay, that was what I was saying. All right, so there's added space on that side to put this in.
Correct.
You're
Yes.
using that 4-foot parkway on the other side of the
You are
sidewalk, looks
correct.
like.
Yes.
I understand.
We have to reduce the landscape berm on the cedar, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of gives that you could do to accommodate that, but we felt that the screening on cedar was important to giving people their backyard spaces where people spend the most time was important, to making sure that we had an accommodation for a truck or larger SUV in the driveway was important, and so we found, the last few pieces that we could pull that together on.
In the landscape berm along Cedar, did I see a sidewalk along Cedar?
No,
Okay.
there is one drawn on here, however, we're not gonna have that because there is nothing north of there.
Okay.
So, there is a single-family house that is north of there, then it's across the Glory Church. There is a sidewalk way up at Evelyn's Gate, but again, that one even doesn't go anywhere either. It doesn't even connect to the school, so.
Will we have the area to put one in the future? Like it?
It's always there in the right-of-way.
All right.
So it was always in the county right-of-way that could be accommodated.
Great.
Will the subdivision have a homeowners association?
Yes.
Is 28 feet the normal width of the street? Because my cul-de-sac, if somebody has a party in there and they park on both sides, there's no way a fire truck's getting in between those two cars, so I think that was kind of narrowed because it was a cul-de-sac and whatnot, so.
Yeah.
But it is treacherous when you try pulling your car down the cul-de-sac to get in your driveway, so, okay.
The good or bad news, depending on how you look at it, is because of all the driveways, there won't be a lot of cars parked on the street.
That is true. And I appreciate the fact you put additional parking there, so. And that'll be overnight parking, they can park there?
Well, I think that we're okay with that, so long as they're not blocking. We wouldn't plow those areas, we wouldn't take care of those areas. It's simply, and actually, the developer has agreed to maintain the street, doing all the plowing, all that kind of stuff. We would still be responsible if it needed to be resurfaced or something like that, but the striping and the plowing are all to be maintained by the homeowners association.
And, speaking of the homeowners association, I know we started doing this, but really making sure that we maintain those so that they don't fade away in 10 years and nobody remembers, and really making sure the city is, got a system in place where we're knowing these folks are meeting regularly, because, as you know, we're playing some catch-up and some help on some of these that have just faded away, and nobody knows how to, or what to do with it. So we want to make sure as we institute these new HOAs that they're part of a system that stays active.
Yeah.
How do we keep track of that? I mean, does someone actually go
We-
and visit
we
these
call.
subdivisions? Oh, you call?
Yeah, we call and make sure that we have current contact information for president and vice president and treasurer and secretary, as well as the property management company that's typically owned or typically operating on behalf of the board. So we have all of that contact information for all of them.
Up to date with the content? Okay.
Yeah, Brittany, as well as one of my staff members, keeps that list up to date.
And the HOAs are run, good evening, everybody, sorry to introduce myself, Chris Cosell, I'm the developer. So your HOA is run just like a business, okay? It has to have a corporate resolution every year, okay, a minute book, and they file with the state that they're in good standing. And the city has, it's all public access, so the easiest way to check,
My only concern is that management companies change,
Oh, yeah, no, you're absolutely, good question. It
So,
happens all
I
around the
just want to
country.
make sure that we are up to date, because just even in my association, we have a new.
Yeah, they have to be registered.
How do you
HOAs have to be
know that?
registered.
You know what I'm saying, so.
Yeah.
They have to be registered with the state, and that's
Okay.
a yearly fee,
Okay.
and that's an easy way to check, make sure they're in good
Or
standing.
angry homeowners call us.
Yeah. And we also require that the HOAs sign off on permits. building permits if they have rules that are in place. So we do also get some contact information from them, too.
The facades that you brought with, is that going to be repeated, or there be variations?
Well, we're not quite sure if it's gonna stay white like you see it there. I'd like to get maybe 2 different color buildings, just to give it a little bit of ambiance. I don't know, I'm kind of open for suggestions, so if you want to throw me a suggestion, I'll be more than happy to entertain it.
Yeah, I've seen some weird colors in homes.
Not
Like,
from
I
him.
drove by and I saw an orange house, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
He's had enough suggestions.
I like orange.
Well,
Because you can
kudos
find your
to,
home when you go in there. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
right.
kudos to Lance and his crew. I think 3 years ago is when you actually started becoming real active in chasing down homeowners association. You brought them in, told them what their responsibilities were. A lot of these people didn't know any of this stuff was in their, charge to take care of, so it's good that you're keeping up on that.
Biggest challenge we run into is stormwater ponds. People haven't maintained them for decades, and there's no stormwater ponds on this site, so.
Well, and again, I know I'm just very late to the game on this, but in the future, I don't like sidewalks to nowhere.
Noted.
Noted.
Anything else, friends? Do you guys want?
My only comment was with 21, or 23, 23 owners in there, and we're having this kind of problem in our own subdivision. We have, I think, 100 homeowners. It's just people don't want to volunteer to be on homeowners associations, so just something to keep in mind.
No, it's true, and that's one of the reasons why I think we
Yeah.
found, some HOAs just kind of fade away, is nobody's stepping up to it,
Yeah.
but it's a requirement, and so this is why the city is, we've kind of tasked them, a couple of years back to really stay on it, so it can't just fade away.
Funny story is I've been on my association as president and different positions for like 26 years.
Yeah. You're easy-
Joanne's not letting hers fade away.
Easy mark over there. I did it for 6, and,
Sometimes
Yeah.
you're on it forever.
yep.
Yeah, because nobody else will step up. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think Ben ended up in his position because the people that were on the board were left.
Yeah.
Ben was the only guy there.
They're like, stuff, you should do this, Ben.
Between 4 and 5, is it open space to just kids play or whatever?
Yeah, so that would be commonly managed by the HOA, so it is a separate property, and actually,
Is that like a park or something, or?
And then between 11 and 12, is that open space as well then? Or is that going to be owned?
that is HOA property as well.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening with my slides, and why this is occurring.
All of the area outside of the buildings is common.
Yeah, everything is
space,
common
yeah,
area.
so-
Yeah.
Not that you want the kids running up to the sides of the buildings. playing, but,
Yeah, the HOA will cut the grass, they will shovel the snow, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Chris builds a great product. I live in one of them and have. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, you guys want to do an action on this, or you want to do consent? Yeah, all right, well, consented is done. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. And then CD2, what else you got?
This last one is related to Resolution 25054. This is simply a reduction in a letter of credit from $351,119.17 down to our standard 10% of $35,111.92. All of the improvements at J&A Sales, which is the development out at Prime Boulevard, if you haven't been out there, it is looking really sharp. We're really happy, and the family is really thrilled to be in their business, and they are really active and happy to be in Lockport. So we have accepted all the improvements. They will post a 10% bond for a period of 1 year, and at the end of that 1 year, we'll do a maintenance walk with them to review everything related to utilities, grading, landscape, everything to make sure it's still in good shape. If it's not, they need to replace it and bring it back up to compliance, and then we'll release the rest of it.
Is there barbecue patio being utilized?
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
It might be
Drive by and
now.
Check, yeah.
Yeah, it might be
It's
getting
about high
closer.
time. Stop by for a burger.
Lisa reminds me, we actually buy some materials from them through Public Works, and they provide sales tax there.
So are we good with consent on CD2? Okay. All right, very good. Does anybody have anything for new business here? Because I had one thing I wanted to mention. It's kind of related to Chris Cazzo's development. So, I had one resident reach out to me when this was being presented, and, they're upset. I guess they're like, oh, it's open lands, why do we have to build in every square inch? And I respect that, and I understand it. A lot of times people move into places, they don't realize they didn't move next to an open field, they moved next to, a property that was originally designed to be a senior living, assisted living facility. And so, it was always what it was zoned for, what it was planned for, is, I think, kind of in many ways, an easier use, more consistent with the neighborhood that's there. But as we were talking, the resident and I, he asked a little bit about community gardens. When you're living in a townhome, you don't always have access to those kinds of things. And Lance and I briefly talked about maybe some places where that could happen. And I'm putting you on the spot, Christina, but I was going to talk to you a little bit about, like, if that's something you and I wanted to talk about, like, are there places in town where we could find those?
I want to put it at the police station.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad idea. And
They have water.
they have water, and they've got a lot of property over there. And so I think, yeah. Yeah. Before you leave, bro, you got to plow that up. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
That'll be completed, I think, by 2026,
What's that?
community garden.
Okay.
That's if everything goes our way.
All right, good. So I was just going to talk with you a little bit more about, like, but seriously, talking about, like, other areas, too, that are in proximity. Well, what are the possibilities? So if it's something you want to explore with me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks. All right, so, any case, that's all I was going to say. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll look for a motion to adjourn. All right, Joanne and Pat, all in favor? Aye. Right on, thanks.